Alright, so hey guys, so welcome to another Warframe video, and today we're going to take a quick look at the Fluctus, even though I already made a video about the Fluctus, but it was back when I really had no idea what I was doing with arc guns, and also the Profit Taker was not a thing yet. So first things first, you can get the blueprint for the Fluctus from the Tenno lab in your dojo, and it will cost you 45,000 credits. And all the other parts come from the syndicates. The stock for the Fluctus is sold by the Steel Meridian Syndicate, the barrel is sold by Cephalon Suda, and finally the limbs are sold by the Red Veil. Now the stats are once again completely different based on whether you use it in Arcwing or you call it down in Atmosphere via a Gravimag. When used in Arcwing mode, the Fluctus will do 200 damage per shot split between 40 as impact, 20 as puncture, and 140 as slash. It will have 15% crit chance with a standard 2x crit multiplier and 10% status chance. It can also fire up to 5 rounds per second, it is a recharge of 10 rounds per second and a magazine size of 25. And this honestly is very low, especially with a fire rate of 5 rounds per second, meaning that you're gonna be out of ammo very quickly and waiting for a recharge unless you augment the magazine capacity with extended magazine. When you call it down in Atmosphere though, the weapon will get 50 extra damage for a grand total of 250, split between 50 as impact, 25 as puncture, and 175 as slash. The crit chance will be bumped up to 22%, it will still have a standard 2x crit multiplier, and the status chance will go up a little bit up to 16% as well. And while it can still fire up to 5 rounds per second, even in Atmosphere it will use a more standard ammo mechanic, so it will gain a 2-second reload time with a 40 round magazine and 160 spare rounds. Now I'm once again going to be showing the weapon with just a basic build, and on the Fluctus it requires a 2 Forma setup where you add 2 Vs. So we're once again running Rubido Line Barrel for damage, dual rounds for multi-shot, parallax scope for crit chance, hollow bullets for crit damage, and then magazine extension, which is great for both Arcwing where you don't run out of ammo as fast, but it also helps in Atmosphere because you don't have to reload as often. And we top it all off once again with Polar Magazine for cold damage and combustion rounds with Electrified Barrel for radiation. Though once again, if you want to use it more in Atmosphere, which you might want to because the Fluctus has some mental AoE, I would recommend going with Corrosive and Heat instead. And that AoE unfortunately has a bit of a trade-off because as you can see the Fluctus does not have as much damage even in Atmosphere as the other arc guns. It's not terrible by any means, it's just that the other arc guns are far stronger in comparison. Though with that said, that's only really an issue versus heavily armored high-level Grineer. If for example you take the weapon against the Infested, you're gonna mow them down pretty fast, and the same can be said for the Corpus, even though we're using Corrosive and Heat, which is not the ideal combo to be used against the Corpus. Now, before we move on to the Profit Taker fight, I have to sort of apologize in advance because I simply cannot record the Profit Taker fight with the Fluctus at 60 frames per second. I've tried lowering the particles all the way down, I've tried running it on low, I've tried recording with a lighter codec so the video would look like us, and I still drop to like 40 or 30 frames as soon as I start firing the weapon and the projectile starts piercing through the different Profit Taker parts. So once again, I'm very sorry for the lagginess, but there's just nothing I can do. It happens even when I'm not recording. So how does the Fluctus stack up against the other arc guns when it comes to the Profit Taker? Well, when it works, it's actually quite comparable, and you can't really see that much of a difference when you compare it to the other arc guns. So the damage is actually quite good when it works. The problem is that on top of being generally very laggy, it's also kind of broken because the Fluctus projectile is huge, it's very wide, and the problem here is that if the projectile in any way touches or clips the hitbox of the head or the body of the spider, even if it pierces through the body and goes through the leg, it will still do 0 damage to the leg. And that results in you having to run around the spider shooting from the outside in, otherwise you're gonna do 0 damage. And that's especially a problem with the hind legs of the spider, because in this phase the spider kind of likes to turn to face you, so you kind of have to outrun it as it's turning around and shoot in, which means that it takes way longer than with any other arc guns, even though the damage is fairly comparable. And it makes the orb fight even more annoying than it already is, thanks to all the knockdowns and staggers. Now I really hope they fix this in the future, because otherwise the Fluctus is just fantastic in every way, shape or form. It's a really fun gun. But as it is right now, there is no way in hell I'm gonna recommend this against the Profit Taker, because it just makes the fight way harder than it needs to be. Just please, for the love of God, don't make the same mistake that I did and put your first Gravimag on the Fluctus. It's just not great. Put it on the standard Imperator, which, if modded properly, is actually going to perform better in the spider fight than the Fluctus right now. Now, I know I might be coming off as too negative when it comes to the Fluctus, but that's because I kind of have to emphasize the negatives here, because these videos are aimed mostly towards the Profit Taker fight, and that's the one area of the game where the Fluctus really struggles. But I think I also have to emphasize that that is the only area of the game where the Fluctus struggles. It is still by far my favorite arc gun to be used in Arcwing. The insane punch through and the width of the projectile and the sound and the look are just overall really good. It's a very fun gun to use, and it's also amazing for just faffing around the star chart, you know, doing fissure missions, nightmare missions, and just alerts and stuff like that. It's really good for that. So the Fluctus, amazing in Arcwing mode, amazing when faffing around the star chart, even if you go out and do some higher end fissure missions and nightmare missions, but at the moment it is unfortunately the weakest arc gun that I've tried against the Profit Taker so far, and I've tried almost all of them. I will of course do a proper comparison video once I'm done with all the arc guns, so I have tried all of them, and if they somehow manage to fix the Fluctus issue when it comes to the Profit Taker, I will make a video about that as well. But for now, I thank you very much for watching, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.
Sons and daughters, pride, the heart of who we are, making peace to build a future, strong, united.